The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You've always got time for Short Time.
Hey, it's Warren Lopez.
David Taylor.
Brent Metcalf. Johnny Hendricks. Tony Ramos. Bubba J.
Mike Golick.
Matthew Modine. The one and only Chael Sonnen. And you are listening to the one and only Short Time Wrestling Podcast by the often imitated and never duplicated Jason Bryant.
Now up on the Short Time Wrestling Podcast, we again visit our friends north of the 49th up in Canada, although our guest today, Haislan Garcia, is now in Arizona as the new volunteer assistant coach at Arizona State University. He's a three-time Olympian representing Canada and a six-time world teamer, nine-time Canadian champion. We'll talk about all that and more. He's got a great backstory to talk about. First of all, Haislan, welcome to the Short Time Wrestling Podcast, as you're like the fourth Canadian or fifth Canadian to ever make the show.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
So you appreciate you guys. All right, I like that already. He's already thanking the entire country. So before we even get into the coaching situation at Arizona State, as you've been a freestyle wrestler your entire career, you came to Canada from Cuba. Let's just talk a little bit about that story before we get into the whole wrestling part of it. I mean, what was that process like in leaving Cuba and becoming a Canadian citizen?
It was difficult for me because then I didn't know how to speak English, so it was difficult for me to just leave my country and come to Canada, But I had to do it because my family was in Toronto already, so I wanted to be with my family, like my mom, my sister, and my dad. So I made a decision to go to Canada. Then I started wrestling because since I was wrestling in Cuba, I always like the sport and stuff like that. So I went to Canada. Then I already had the contacts because the Canadian team, like small team, they went to Cuba, and then I was talking to them that I was gonna come to Canada. So they like, okay, when you get to Canada, just hit us up, and we'll hook you up, with the team out here. Then pretty much I just got to Canada and called them, and they responded to me right away. They took me to Vancouver to start wrestling out there.
So what year did you start? What year did you come from Cuba to Canada?
2004.
Okay, so right away you're leaving, and you've been wrestling down there. Well, what's it like growing up wrestling in Cuba? We don't really know much about the system as Americans because, of course, there's been the travel is extremely tough unless you're some sports delegation. We know American wrestlers have had the opportunity to go to Cuba, but we don't really know a whole lot about what goes on and how the sporting culture works. I mean, how do you discover wrestling, or how does wrestling find you in Cuba, and what's the situation like as a youth when you start wrestling there?
Well, usually you're at school, right? And then like coaches from different sports, they just come to your school and ask you like what sport you want to join in. So some guys that pick baseball, boxing, or whatever. So when they came to my classroom, I just choose wrestling, and it started from there. At first, you start choosing a little club, little club in your hometown. You got no shoes, no wrestling shoes, no singlet. You don't even know what it's like to compete. But then you get used to it because it's tough out there. In the beginning, it's like it's just like if you feel in love with your sport, then you just continue with it. Because some kids they just choose like two sports, right, just to try it out, and at the end of the day, they just stick to one. So that's what I did. Like I chose wrestling, but that was my only sport because, I like to play around. I was like a hyper kid. So, since that day, I started wrestling. Then, in Cuba, it's just if you're one of the top wrestlers, like as you're a kid, you go to like a special school. It's like only athletes that go there. So I started wrestling when I was like 10. Then, it was like, at first I did Greco. I was doing Greco. Then, I guess I was good in Greco, but I never got used to like that special school. So the freestyle coach said, hey, you should join us. And then I started doing freestyle. And then that freestyle, I went to that special school. So when they picked me, I was pretty happy. Then from there, this right now is like different level of wrestling. Because not everyone gets to go to that school. Only special kids go to the school. So I was pretty happy about that one. and that's how I started.
Yeah, you said your family was in Toronto. I mean, how much of a lead did they have? I mean, how many years were they ahead of you in coming to Canada?
I think. Well, my dad was a fisherman. He stayed in Canada, but I don't remember what year. So then after that, he applied for my mom and my sister and myself, but they came to Canada like 3 years before me because I had to pass that military school. So without that, you can't leave Cuba. Like everyone that is in Cuba, you have to pass that military school. So after I was done with that, then I was able to come to Canada. So it was like 3 years pretty much before my mom and my sister came out here. But my dad was out here for like 5 years before that.
You know, we know so little about how the sports work there. You know, baseball we know is a huge thing in Cuba, and we see the reverence that they have for boxing and wrestling. But what is the culture like growing up there? And, you know, what sports are viewed as your sports heroes? I mean, what, you know, you're looking at what happens in the U.S. or other places in the Caribbean where Cubans have gone and excelled in sports, whether the Olympics. What is it, the sense of national pride when the country wins a medal at the World or Olympic Championships, regardless of the sport?
Well, if you win a medal in Cuba, you're like a big timer out there. You know, they treat you real good. Like, they give you a house, they give you a car, and every month you get your salary. It's not like out here that you get, you know, like tons of money, but out there it's like, I don't know, $300 every month if you get a gold medal at the Olympics. If you get silver, you'll get $250, and then if you get bronze, you get like $100. But you know, that's, I guess with that culture, that's okay to live out there. But since they give you a house and they give you a car, then you're pretty much like, you know, you're pretty happy with that. I know the money is not enough, but you know, that's how you grew up. You don't know better than that. So you just get used to that lifestyle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So when you got to Canada, how much of a change was it? I mean, what were the wrestling facilities like in Cuba, and the first time you stepped into a wrestling room in Canada and be like, whoa?
Well, obviously it's like different level because, you know, in Cuba, everyone like, the athletes are great athletes. And like, you know, I was training with like Olympic champions and like world champions and all the type of guys, you know. So when I got to Ghana, I was like, well, okay, I guess I can't be number one out here because in Cuba, you know, I was wrestling 60 kilos. Then when I left, I got second to like John Quintana. He was an Olympic champion. So I could never go outside of Cuba if you're number two. You know, you had to be number one to just get out of Cuba because, I don't know, sometimes the money situation doesn't allow you to, like, go to places and compete. So when I was out there in Canada, I was like, I don't know, it's different out here, I guess, you know, since I was good already. So started wrestling for Canada, you know, they took me pretty well, so everyone, like, was showing me love. So in Vancouver, because I started in Toronto, so I was there for like a couple months or maybe a month or a month and a half. Then the guys in Vancouver, they took me to try it out. So then they had like a great team, and then, you know, I saw like it was a place for me to be there. So then since then, that was, you know, I became what I am right now.
You know, one thing that the Cuban wrestling team has been kind of, when they travel internationally, there's always seems to be the worry about defection. What is the mindset when you know, you hear about other Cuban wrestlers that they don't, you emigrated to Canada based on your family, whereas at the Pan Ams, I think it was in 2012, there were a couple wrestlers that they were there in Orlando and they pieced out, they defected. I mean,
yeah.
What discussions have you had with people that have thought about defecting, and, you know, what's the mindset behind athletes that do?
Well, for them, I guess it's just that they're looking for better life for themselves and better life for like their families. Because, you know, since you're not allowed, well, then you're not allowed to leave of Cuba, right? So you have to be a number one to like be able to like travel a lot and like, you know, get to places. So I guess they made decision with their family and stuff like that because they are looking for a better future for themselves and for their family. So that's what I'm thinking. That's why they stay. You know what I'm saying?
Did it surprise you that Frank Chamizo left to go to Italy?
Well, he was different because when he went to Italy, he just went because he got married to like an Italian girl. So that's why he went to Italy, because he got married and then, started wrestling because he was always good. So.
Yeah, so he wasn't a true defection. It was like, all right, I got married. All right, I got it. I'm good.
Yeah, pretty much.
I did think it was odd. I mean, you've got to kind of chuckle sometimes to see where some of your countrymen end up. I think, what was it? Was it Alexis Rodriguez ended up wrestling for Azerbaijan? I mean, that's usually that's not usually the normal. I mean, you're thinking Venezuela, Canada. You're getting maybe some of the Spanish speaking countries, but Azerbaijan is not where a Cuban typically ends up.
I know. I don't know what he was thinking. It's like, I don't know. He stayed. I guess he stayed in like Spain or something like that. He was in Spain for a little while. Then I guess, I don't know, the Azerbaijanian team or whatever, they called him out to, like, I don't know, try it out there. And then he went to Azerbaijan. I was like, whoa, that's kind of different, because that's not a place like for the Cubans to live there,
Yeah, there is no little Havana in Baku, from what I understand.
No, there ain't no Havana out there.
So,
for sure.
So you get settled in Canada, and what's the citizenship process like? I mean, how tough is it? Or in this case, I mean, you got it pretty quickly. If you were to come to the U.S., it would take a number of years. But I mean, Daniel Legali talked about when he came from Nigeria and got citizenship. I mean, what was the citizenship process like for you?
Well, it's usually like if you come legally to Canada, it takes like 4 years. So I had to wait for like 4 years since I was allowed to like compete international and for Canada, represent Canada. I was like going to like small tournaments, stuff like that. But even if I won the nationals, I couldn't go to the World Championships. So the number 2 had to go to the World Championships. So it took me like 4 years to like get my citizenship, and then after that, I started competing for Canada.
So were you still in these international tournaments? Did you still have to wear Cuba on your singlet, or were you representing Canada but not as a Canadian citizen yet?
No, I was representing Canada but not having my citizenship,
Gotcha. So the move to Vancouver, and now you did not compete in the Canadian Inter-University Sport, the CIS, which is their college system. I'm pretty much assuming, since by the time you got there, you were probably beyond the college years, but you look at how the club system works, where there are the clubs that work closely with the college programs. And you ended up going out to Vancouver and wrestling for the Burnaby Mountain Wrestling Club with a very notable character of a guy named Dave McKay. And what was it like, wrestling for Coach McKay, who's got quite a personality when it comes to coaching there in the corner?
Well, it's like, Dave was my coach for like all these years. So it's like, he's got good energy. It's like, first of all, like, I have to say thanks to Dave, because since I got there, he he helped me a lot with like everything in my life. So yeah, then, in the corner, he's great. He tells you what you need to hear. And then, he's just organized with like the plans for like what you need to like get to this level and stuff like that. So it was pretty good. I appreciate Dave all the time. And yeah.
Yeah, so one of the questions is as you take this job at Arizona State, is what exactly your role is going to be. Is if you're a college coach, but you didn't wrestle in the CIS, which actually Simon Fraser is the one Canadian school that's in NCAA Division II. They compete in our American folk style, but you work out with those guys, so you've got an opportunity to understand what folk style is. But I mean, what is your knowledge of the American style of wrestling?
Well, I've been watching folk style like since ever, because I still like that style. I think it's aggressive and stuff like that, and you can always like learn from everyone. It doesn't matter like what it is, but it's pretty much wrestling. Wrestling is just the same moves. You gotta move your feet, and everything's always the same. The only thing is like you gotta escape. From the bottom you can't stay there. You can stay still, whatever. You just gotta keep moving to get up. So I think I can help anyone that is in like the wrestling sport, because I already know wrestling. I just gotta learn with like the escaping stuff situation, but I can pick it up pretty quick. It's not like something too hard, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're bringing you in though to work on top and bottom. I think they're bringing you in to work on takedowns, right?
yeah, that's for sure. I can't get out. I can't get out.
They'll be like, all right, get one takedown. Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. No, those guys are tough on top. I just can't get taken down.
You know, what are you looking to do with this position? I mean, was this an opportunity that Zeke Jones approached you with, or were you looking to get into coaching and there happened to be positions in the United States that were kind of tempting you?
Well, yeah, Zeke hit me up, and then, we started talking about this job situation. So I was pretty happy because, like, Arizona is a pretty good team and a pretty good place, and then with a person like Zeke, he was like a U.S. coach, for the national team coach, so I have a lot of respect for him. So, when he hit me up, I was pretty happy about this situation, and it's always a good opportunity for me to become a good coach and stuff like that.
One thing you're going to have to do now that you've moved from British Columbia to the desert is you got to get rid of all your rain gear. You don't need it anymore.
I know. And then it ain't going to be cold no more. So I'm good. I'm good out here.
Yeah, you've got no problem with the heat, though. You grew up in Cuba, so you're fine with the heat.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with the heat.
Now, as we look at opportunities, are you done competing? You've made 3 Olympic teams, but 33, you're not super old yet because you're still younger than me. But are you done competing?
Well, I just going with the flow. I'm still training. I'm still stepping on the mat with like all those guys and stuff like that. So I just recovering and see what happens. I don't know. I can't answer you that question right now, but we'll see what happens.
But and then working down there in Arizona State with the Sunkist Kids Club, that gives you a different look in terms of your own training too, because you've got high-level freestyle guys that are coming through there all the time.
Yeah, it's like I feel good still. Jordan Oliver is out here, and then Sean and Garrett, they're out here, and then freestyle guys. So I work out with those guys, and still it's hard to just say I'm done right now. So we'll see what happens.
You've been on 3 Olympic teams, and the experiences have got to be very different. We got Beijing, we got London, and we got Rio. Let's just talk about what the differences were. What was your favorite games? Was it 12, 16, or 8?
My favorite one was Rio. Rio was good. But the difference is that, when I went to my first Olympics, I don't think I was ready. Like, even when I was watching the girls and stuff like that, I was like, whoa, what is this, It's like different feeling since I wasn't, I didn't get to compete a lot because I just became Canadian citizen that year. So I didn't compete international tournaments. I would never saw a high amount like that. So when I got there, I was like, whoa, what is this? I don't know. I wasn't ready yet for that stage, right? But then, after I did the Olympics, I was like, you know what? It's not that. It's just what you put in your mind, It's just because it's a bigger name. Everyone thinks, and it gets tense and stuff like that. But then after that, I started competing more and getting used to the pressure and all those guys, getting to know all those guys in my world class, the Russians, Ukrainian, all of them, pretty much Europe. So then start competing and placing everywhere. So I knew I could have go to the Olympics. I was like, okay, I think I'm making it because I was doing great in every tournament that I compete. So yeah, that gave me confidence and everything that you need to go to the Olympics.
You'd mentioned something about the girls and women's wrestling has been side by side with the men's programs, at least on the college level and within those clubs. So with Erica Weeb winning an Olympic gold, Carol Wynn becoming the first Olympic champion of women's wrestling from Canada, and then you've got the dominant guys like Daniel Legali, who's Olympic champion and actually represented Simon Fraser at the NAIA. I just think of those poor guys that had to wrestle that guy after winning an Olympic gold. But when it comes to the women's wrestling, I mean, what's it like? Because Cuba's women's wrestling program is still developing. I mean, there's some really good athletes that are starting to come through and starting to really learn. But it was, at the time Carol was winning an Olympic gold, it really wasn't anything. The time you left Cuba, the women's wrestling really wasn't wasn't a thing. I mean, what was it like to adapt to having the women's wrestling programs and clubs and those athletes training side by side with the men at these places?
Yeah, well, when I was in Cuba, it wasn't no girls wrestling then, because I don't know, they didn't start it. They started late. So when I came to Ghana, I started seeing like girls wrestling and stuff like that, and we used to train like in the same room or whatever. So it's like, but the girls out there in Ghana, they're tough. They're like, they have like a lot of medals and stuff like that. So it was, and then I always like to help the girls and stuff like that, because I love the sport. I just help anyone. So I think it was like different because I've never seen it, like the girls stepping on the mat, stuff like that. But it's like the other sports that like judo, they have girls, and like all the sports they have girls. So it's like I was okay with it,
Erica Weeb was on the program earlier this season, basically after she won the Olympic gold, and we're asking about the trials procedures. And in Canada, you obviously have your trials procedures. You really haven't gone through what the Americans do, but from what you know about the American system, and then the Canadian trials in 16 were actually in December of 15 to set the team early. And then those are the athletes that go through the qualification process, whether it be the last chance qualifiers or the Pan Am qualifier. What's that do for your mindset to know that, okay, I've got the spot. Now it's up to me to qualify my weight class and make the team?
It's way different than out here, because, like when you got the spot, you know what you have to do, what you have to train for, and then your goals. Out here, you can't qualify the weight class and you can't not be the guy. So it's like, I don't know, the system out here is like a little different, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of good, because, sometimes you have a bad tournament, and then, sometimes that day you lose to like anyone. Then the next tournament, you prepare, and then you get reset, your mind reset, and then, since all you're done, it's like competing and getting ready for that. Then, and it's like you're looking for the bigger picture now. Like sometimes your weight class is already qualified. So, if you beat that guy, you go into the Olympics. And, it's like a little different, but since I got used to that Canadian system, I like it that way better, because, you already beat everyone in Canada. So, now what you want, you're trying to like qualify or whatever. Even you just do everything what is possible and to like qualify to that tournament, So.
Yeah, I've had Corey Jarvis on the program before, too. So you guys were the only two men to represent Canada at the Olympic Games. And how difficult is that to go to an Olympic event or a world-level event and know it's you and the heavyweight, and you guys probably aren't going to drill with one another because he's got you by 50 kilos, a.k.a. 100 pounds?
Well, yeah, it is difficult, kind of difficult, but you get to bring your own training partner, because it's obvious that I can't now drill with Jarvis, so you get to bring your own training partner, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, you brought Joe Dashu, so I mean, let's talk about Joe a little bit.
All right. Well, Joe, he's a great guy, and when I was in BC, whenever I wanted to work out, I'd be calling him, and he'd be like on time for everything. I'd be like, okay, we're going to go train, and then there was no practice that day. He'd be getting up with me and like helping me out. Like sometimes we go on the track, sometimes we go do technique on the mat, and he was always on time or whatever. So I figured that why not take him? Because, at the Olympics, you're not looking for like, wrestle, like you're not looking to get better at the Olympics. You already done all your work. You only need someone like when you say, okay, I need this today, so you'll be working on that stuff that you need today. Not like someone that might trying to like, hurt you because next year you're the same weight class as him, or someone that I don't know, maybe doesn't want you to win or whatever, and you'll get hurt. So that's why I brought him. He's a great partner, a great friend of mine, and whatever I needed out there, he'd be out there for me. So I think it was great for me.
Spinning things back to the United States and the college wrestling scene, what's your knowledge of the NCAA scene beforehand? I mean, you said you'd watched the wrestling and you're familiar with some of the teams and techniques, but you're now on staff with a world champion named Zeke Jones. As you said, he was the U.S. national team coach. Lee Pritz, who's a ball of energy and a recruiting mastermind. Then you get Chris Pendleton, who's won a couple national titles at Oklahoma State. I mean, what is your knowledge? And were you a fan of the college wrestling system, or like any teams before you said, all right, I guess I'm coaching at Arizona State?
Like I say, I always watch that NCAA because there is some great guys that are NCAA, get out of the NCAA, like Jordan Burroughs, who won like a medal at the World Championships, and all the other guys that have done it too. But I was watching that because I think it's like real tough, and then it's actually, I don't know, for me, I think it'll get you ready for to get to the next level. Because if you get out of the NCAA with that energy and since they got to weigh in today, and they wrestled today too, so it's a little different from us. And I think those guys that get used to wrestling like that, when they get more time to recover, they can be dangerous too, So it's just a little different, but I think at the end of the day, it helps you when you learn the freestyle, because sometimes it doesn't work because you're allowed to go to your back and stuff like that, and freestyle you're not allowed to go to your back because you give up 4 points. So you'll get you ready. Because for the NCAA, you gotta be tough. Those guys are tough. They go to work every day.
You excited to actually go to the NCAA championships and see this stuff live? I mean, we get big crowds down here.
For sure, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I've been to NCAA tournaments and stuff like that. I actually wrestled Metcalf in a duo meet in Iowa, and it was real crazy. So I imagine out here the NCAA tournaments are a bit crazier than that. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, wrestling Metcalf in Iowa, you're going to get a very, very interesting sense of the American wrestling fan base, that's for sure.
For sure. I'm pretty excited for that.
All right, we got a segment on the show that's called Short Time, where I'm going to blast 10 questions at you in 90 seconds and see if you can answer the call. I got to say that Corey Jarvis and Erica Weeb have done very good on this, so it's up to you to continue carrying the banner for Canada as great contestants. So, you ready?
3, 2, 1, 0.
All
right, question 1. What's the best match you've ever watched?
Match I haven't watched. Daniel Igali and that guy at the Olympics. I don't know his name.
Oh, yeah, that one. We know
gold medal.
Yeah. Who's we got that one set. Yeah, we all know that one, right? Number 2, you win the Olympic gold. What were you going to have for dinner?
What did I have for dinner? I don't even know. That's a tough question. But I don't even know if I'll eat that day. Telling you the truth. Yeah, I'll say.
Who's the best wrestler people don't talk about?
Oof. I know that question.
All-time favorite flavor of Gatorade?
I didn't grow up with Gatorade, so I can't.
Yeah, see, that's a good question. Okay, so
I can't talk about that one.
Best rehydration drink, just water?
I guess so. Water and sugar, that was in Cuba.
All right. Well, you learn something new every day. All right, question 5. Best wrestling movie?
I guess I gotta say the last that came out. What was it called?
What, the Foxcatcher one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
I like that one.
All right, number 6. Favorite Cuban athlete of all time?
John Quintana.
All right. If you had to live in the United States, which state would you pick? This one's kind of easy.
I'm going to be out here, Arizona.
Which coach is tougher on the refs? Marty Calder from Brock or Dave McKay from Burnaby Mountain?
Who's tougher? I guess Dave. He was my coach.
All right. What's a better indication of Canadian culture? Tim Hortons or Swiss Chalet?
Tim Horton.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. Okay, let's see. Next question. We're going to what? Who should be the most revered Canadian athlete of all time?
I guess Daniel.
That's a good question. All right, and my last one, and this is one that it seems to be a theme because when I came up and did the broadcast for the Canadian trials, all I could talk about were the Edmonton Eskimos and poutine. So my question is, it's about poutine. Is it a Canadian staple or is it just an overrated tourist attraction?
That question is hard for me. Oh, no.
Well, the thing is, do you eat it? I mean, it's not a regular food athletes should eat. I mean, it's deep fried, everything covered in gravy. I mean, it's delicious.
I should do one every 5 months.
Okay, so you're not eating. Usually, you're eating poutine a lot less frequently than Jarvis is.
Yeah. Different weight classes. That's why.
All right, Haislan, it's been a great opportunity. Where can people find more about you, follow you on Twitter, and keep up with your antics since Sun Devil Wrestling?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Garcia65, and then on my Facebook. I don't usually use my Twitter, but I guess I'm gonna start using it. I don't even know what's my name on Twitter, but, I'll figure it out soon.
Let's see. You know what? I think I can figure that out because that's how I got a hold of you here. So let me just do some quick research.
Exactly.
I actually sent I didn't hear from you for a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to send Joe a message. And Joe Dashu, I was like, okay. He goes, get me on your show, Bryant. I'm tired of doing all your work. So I don't know. In case you're wondering, it's the old weight classes. It's at HGarcia66. So that is Mr. Garcia on Twitter. And I appreciate the opportunity and good luck this season.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
You know, this one had me excited. As soon as I heard that Larry Zeke Jones had hired Haislan Garcia, I'm like, I got to get this guy on Short Time because this is a dynamic you don't see very often. Yeah, you've had, international guys on staffs. I mean, I think Valentin Jordanov was on a coaching staff at one point. We've had, international people, on staffs, even though they're really kind of training other places. But, Haislan made it abundantly clear that he doesn't know if he's done yet or not. But, giving freestyle a different look. Yeah, like you said, he's not going to be the guy you bring in to talk about riding time or to teach riding time. But Zeke's doing something different there with Mr. Garcia. And I'm glad that I got a chance to actually get that backstory because I've known that Haislan was from Cuba. I just didn't know the story behind it. And a little bit of knowledge bombs being dropped there. So great conversation with this guy. I was really, really excited to get him on the program for you to understand, because that's one of the big questions. Like, what's this guy know about folk style? Well, the guy knows how to wrestle, and when you can take somebody down, yeah, he's good at that. He's really good at that. So I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of double legs and a lot of single leg attacks, more so than normal, maybe being taught in that Arizona State room while Zeke works on the whizzer kick during freestyle season. Other things to talk about. This is episode 287. Had a chance to co-host Blood Round with Kevin Claunch last week. And sorry, Tommy B, I've already, I come in and co-host, for an episode and boom, it's the most listened to episode of Blood Round ever. So boom. Speaking of booms, and this is something I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it because I'm kind of over it, but allow me to speak my piece on this closure. Anybody been on Twitter in the last couple days? Noticed me go kind of ballistic? Well, here's the thing. In my career, especially in my younger years, I've been known to, especially on the message boards, kind of call out the idiots, call out the trolls. Well, I couldn't let this situation go any further. I just couldn't. And there is an individual who claims to be somebody who wants to promote the sport of wrestling. No, this person wants to promote themselves. And you know what? I'm not going to facilitate that because I'm not going to mention your name. You're disgraceful because I got so sick and tired of seeing tweets about kids. Yes, kids. These aren't adults saying, "Oh, fool me once." Somebody taking advantage of kids, our wrestlers, high school kids who have their money taken from them on the promise and then blocked when somebody doesn't deliver the product. Okay? I've had enough of this. And you know what? If it stopped one kid, if it stopped one individual from giving this parasite of our sport any more money, then I'm glad I did it. If I might have sunken down a little bit, I might have gotten a little dirty. I tried to maintain my composure. I tried to make sure I didn't get nasty. There was a shot here and there that might have been a little bit of a low blow, but you know what? You freaking deserve it, okay? 2 years ago, Willie went off on this individual for stealing content. You want to know why the following is so big? Because it's stolen memes. It's stolen content. It's nothing original. The only thing, and you know what's not original also, is scamming people. That is a freaking disgusting thing. And pardon me for using my Sandy Stevens voice. We don't need you in our sport. We don't want you in our sport. Get the hell out. Okay? You're a freaking joke. You're a freaking joke. Okay? You know what it takes to get me this fired up over some nobody? It takes a lot, because it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about Ben Kamali. It's about Colton Steele. It's about Aaron Marks. It's about the other 15 kids that sent me direct messages and Facebook messages on Twitter and Facebook about how you stole their money. You did that. You're disgusting. That's why I went off on you. You want to talk about integrity and post your little fun limericks and stuff? I'm not even going to go into the whole charade you put on about Arizona State and South Dakota State. You didn't even make it to preseason. Yeah, you don't get the credit of being a wrestling fan anymore. You don't. You never should have had it to start with. You scam kids. You take their money. And then you claim, oh, it's just a rumor. Piss off, dude. I hope you get everything that's coming to you. Everything you deserve. And you know what? I got a feeling it's going to be coming pretty soon. Oh, and for the record, the subtweet about, how some grown man you've never heard of is arguing with teenagers. Quit lying to your people. You're 20 years old, dude. You're not a teenager. You're not a child. You're a man. Or at least at your age, you're supposed to be. Matter of fact, nah, you're not. Not even close. Anyway, moving on to bigger and better things. The actual wrestling fans, that's you, the people that listen to this show, the people that subscribe to the Short Time Wrestling Podcast, thank you for being a real fan. Thank you for being somebody this sport actually has done something for in a positive way. Thank you for not being a douchebag. Thank you. I appreciate you listening each and every show. And, you know, it's a labor of love, because there are people out here that don't get rich doing this. I'm one of these people who don't get rich doing this. I have a great time doing this. And you know what? It's been my pleasure to bring this show and the other shows on this network to you each and every week. And if you like that content, and if you like the fact that I produce this stuff for, you know, yeah, there are shows that are paid for by the schools, but the vast majority of the Short Time and the Hall of Fame Legends, that's crowdfunded, folks. That's on you. That is your generosity that helps this show happen. You want to help that out? You want to help that out? Go to matttalkonline.com/join the team. You can contribute, a couple bucks a month, whatever you feel like it. But one of those projects that you're going to get as a perk, if you hit the $5 a month level, is the almanac that I've been working on. And I've got to realize that my branding kind of stinks, because I've got this show's called Short Time and the segment's called Short Time at the end of the show. And I have the Matt Talk Almanac, the Fargo Almanac, and then I have the website Almanac. Yeah, I just got to work on the branding thing. Anyway, There's an online almanac with lists and lists and lists, and I keep adding more to it. And I've found, I got all the 4-time All-Americans. I got every All-American ever. And by the way, that guy, I was the DB that I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, he's not on any of these lists. So, oh darn. So we got all this stuff, and it's going to be a perk for your membership. So matttalkonline.com/join the team. Other news coming up, I'll be announcing the Pac-12s this year. I'm excited about that. So I will be going Pac-12s, NAIAs, Division 3s, Division 1s. My wife's really going to love the month of March. My daughter's now 3 months old. Ruby Rio is, she's not quite rolling over yet. She spits up. I mean, jeez. I don't understand. Every time it's like that Jeff Foxworthy thing where I like to shake my daughter up and hand her to people I don't like. And basically it's it's just like, I'll be like, oh, hey, Ruby. Yeah, yes, in dad voice. Because I'm a blithering buffoon when I'm sitting there talking to my youngest daughter. Be like, hey, Ruby, hey. Yeah, and then I'm sitting there watching Disney movies and animated stuff with my older daughter. And I think I'm going to be Woody from Toy Story for Halloween. I bought that on Amazon tonight, while the girls are going to be Dory and Nemo. Yeah. So last year I dressed as I put a singlet on for the first time in 20 years, and you can rest assured that's not going to happen again, because that was the scariest costume on the block last year for obvious reasons. The only two costumes I think that could be scarier this year would be the masks for Hillary and Donald. Those are frightening. And a site news thing, I mentioned that all sorts of things are going up on the Almanac, but on MattTalkOnline.com, I've still got the California Community College standings. They're on the main page on the right side, or if you're on mobile, just scroll down past all the shows. Well, you might want to subscribe and listen to them first, but there's the schedules. So a quick way to get that is MattTalkOnline.com/skeds, SKEDZ. And what that is that's a chart of all the teams that I have entered their dual meet schedule for. So you'll see a yes or a no next to their name. You can even filter by division. There's only one school in Division 1, Davidson. Bob Patneski, come on, man, return my email. 4 schools in Division 2 and 6 schools in Division 3, since Scott Honecker of Williams sent me his scheduler today. So there are only 11 schools in the NCAA 3 divisions that are not listing their schedules, at least on their website, and so they're not in a database. I need to get onto the NAIA and the NJCAA in the next couple weeks before the season actually gets here. 53 schools yet to enter for the NAIA, 48 for the junior colleges, provided some of those schools don't really even have an SID, so to speak, and that also goes for the NAIA. It's usually, it could be like an assistant coach or something, so some of those results are hard to come by, maybe as hard as the California results are sometimes. If it wasn't for John Sachs, I would have no information on the California community colleges. And Don Garriott, his SID is awesome at Cerritos. So we got about 101 schools, 112 schools left to enter. So, yeah, that's what we got. MattTalkOnline.com. The schedule's on the drop-down on the menu. Thank you for listening. I apologize to you, the fan that had to sit through that little diatribe earlier, because I'm sorry. It takes a lot to get me like that pissed off. It takes a lot. And you know what? Like I said, I got a message from a kid right after that basically validated the reason I just did what I did, and I did it on Twitter. And I'm not deleting my posts about it either, too. I'm not ashamed of what I did. And you know what? You want to play with the big dogs, you're going to get bit, dude. So those of you that like to play with the big dogs, and you know how to run with the dogs, and you know how to, throw the frisbee and throw the tennis ball into the lake and bark loud and howl, yeah, cool. Thanks for listening, because you've always got time for short time. That was like the worst way to end a show with these dog analogies. Screw it.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.